Hello fellow simmers, it's Samuel Beeman of BLS here and welcome to another Train Simulator Classic video. In today's video we're going to have a close observation of 4th's Game's newly released SDJR 2807F pack for Train Simulator. This in total is priced at £16.99 and you get a variety of rolling stock and locomotives of course, and all obviously the different livery variations. So what we're going to do is we're going to be looking at both the pros and cons for this pack. Yes, there are cons, believe it or not. So in my eyes, this pack is somewhat revolutionary because it contains a few features that have never been seen before in Train Simulator, which is why I was so excited to get hold of it. It is going to be an interesting one today, folks. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. So, first of all, what we're going to be starting with is the liveries. So we're going to have a brief look through all of the liveries you get with the 7F pack, and a little bit of info on the variations, but we're not going to go too in-depth on, obviously, all of the scripting and variations, otherwise we'll be here forever. So first things first, what I will say is the customization of these locomotives is absolutely fantastic. You can customize them, change all the numbers of them, add bits and remove bits, and yeah, the customization options are really good on these. So yeah, that's one good point of this pack. That definitely overrules the Caledonia Works version, and yeah, so customization wise it is definitely up there. So we're going to start over to the left with the, I believe it's fictitious BR lined black livery. These did not carry BR lined black as far as I know. So what we'll do is head over to our first look at the BR lined black livery, which is number 53802. So first things first, I just want to say that the modelling of these are absolutely stunning. It just looks fantastic. You know, we've been needing a new 7F for Train Simulator for quite some time, and it's been brilliant to see both Caledonia Works and 4th's Games making them and respecting each other in their decisions on development as well. Because from what I gather, both of them were fully aware that they were doing the 7Fs, like both companies, and I believe Chris of Caledonia Works took this on board and basically didn't do the preservation versions in his pack and decided to just do the working days versions. And I believe he did this obviously for the purpose of the fact that 4th's Games were doing them as well, just so it gives them a little bit more options to obviously add the preservation editions of the 7Fs, which we will look at some point within this video. At the moment, as far as I know, within this scenario, I've just placed down sort of the working days versions, and we'll get over to the preserved versions in a bit. So yes, this is the lined black livery, which, as I say, I don't think this is this actually existed. It's not a livery I'm familiar with on the 7Fs. I believe they were just unlined black, and there was no lined black version. But nevertheless, it does actually look quite smart. It's not too bad, and as stated, you know, the modelling itself is pretty superb. Texturing, personally, I feel is not the best, especially in shaded areas. I don't think the bake is as good as what it could be, but as I say, you know, it makes up with the fact of, you know, just how lovely this model is. And obviously as well, you know, we've got details such as this vac hose where it actually has the ribbed, you know, hose. Because, you know, a lot of the time you see this is textured, but no, this one is actually 3D, which is very smart. And yeah, and the overall model is looking really smart. And yeah, so that is the lined black livery. We also get a bunch of wagons with this pack. So these are the Midland Railway wagons that you get with this, and yeah, they are looking pretty cool. I like you know, the Midland Railway livery. It's nice, that sort of light blue livery as well. Look, we've got details such as a lovely 3D sort of, you know, plate on there, and it just, you know, Modelling wise, I will give Fourth's game credit. They really do very, very well with their modelling. It does look incredibly smart. As I say, modelling wise, fantastic. Texture wise, on especially on some things, could use with an improvement. But these wagons are actually really, really nicely textured and are looking incredibly smart. And we've got the brake van or horse box on the rear, which looks very smart. I don't know whether these have an interior or not, or what, because I haven't actually used these freight wagons yet, so not entirely sure in the means of, whether they have, like, I don't know, interiors on the horse boxes. I don't know. But yeah, so they are the Midland Railway wagons that you get with it as well. Heading over to here, we have some more wagons here. So these are the Somerset and Dorset Joint Railway wagons. Again, very similar wagons, just in a different livery variation. You have some with tarps on them. You have some with coal, sort of a coal load, which, to be fair, the texturing on that is looking incredibly smart. And yeah, the wagons themselves, as I say, they do look really, really nice. Like, they do stand out pretty well. And I mean, look at all of the details that you have on it. The footsteps and all the hinges and all the other bits and pieces. They are very nicely done. So, heading over to our next liveries on the actual 7Fs themselves, we head over to the basically standard BR black livery. So this is the classic black livery. But you'll notice some differences between these two locos. So the left-hand side 7F is the large boiler variant, while the right-hand side 7F is the small boiler version, as I also like to call the standard boiler version. Because personally, I think that the standard small boiler version is better looking than the large boiler. And yeah, the large boiler one, to me, I'm just not keen. I just don't think it's a very nice look for it. Definitely the standard small boiler variant definitely is better on the looking side to opposed to the large one. But it's obviously mandatory to place one of these down just so we can have a look at both variants of 7F that you get with the pack. So let's have a look at the larger boiler version. So as you can see, the definitely on the front as well, you can see that the boiler itself is definitely a lot larger than the small boiler version. But you can see, look at all the detail we have here. With the lamp iron there, the smoke box hinges, the number as well. Is that 3D? I think that's 3D. Is that a 3D number? Do you know what? I think that is a 3D number on there, folks. That looks very, very nice. Yeah, so we've got 3D numbers and 3D shed codes. Again, very, very nice touch. We've got all of the riveting around the boiler, which, to be honest, is actually looking really, really good. It's not too hexagonal or anything like that. They look very round and very nicely attached. We've got all of the jigs and fixtures, all the piping. It's relatively nice texturing here, although, to be fair, that it's okay. As I say, there are some bits here and there which I think could use with some improvements. But yeah, so we've got obviously we've got all of the reverser lever there. We've got the lubricator. All of the underframe here with the clanks. Obviously the cranks and the rods and all of the jigs and fixtures. It does look very, very nicely detailed, doesn't it? They have done a very nice job here. We've got obviously all the cab steps present and correct. All of the brake blocks on the tender, and we've also got hints of weathering as well, just to give it a bit more depth. And I really like features like that because it's not clean underneath. It never is. Bear in mind that this is an X-Works tender, or supposed to be X-Works. They've took into account that steam engines are never completely clean, and yeah, it's a nice touch. Although we are getting the odd shader issue here and there. I've noticed that we've got some really strange looking shaders here and there, which could use a bit of improvement. Yeah, we seem to have some weird shader issues going on there. Strange. Going into the buffer beam, yeah, to be honest, the buffer beam I think is probably like my least favourite part on these models. I just think that the the bake on it just isn't great. It's too bright and too in your face, and especially when it goes into the shadows, it still is bright regardless on whether you're in the sun or in the shadows. So I think that the bake on the buffer beams, in all honesty, could be, could use an improvement. We have some nice, buffer beam sort of, buffer textures in general. Yeah, the buffer textures in general, not too bad. And we've got the shackle and the hook there, which to me, to be fair, that hook is looking pretty chunky. I don't know if it's supposed to be that chunky in real life, but as I say, I'm not like hugely, haven't worked on a 7F in real life. I don't know what they look like in the means of chunkiness on the hooks, so I can't really comment on that. But this, the vac hose itself, it just does look really, really nice. I personally think it does look really, really smart. So yeah, very nice touch on that. So obviously we head over to the smaller boiler version now, which is the, just a standard boiler. This is sort of the classic look of 7F that everyone looks at. And yeah, it does look smart. We've got scrapes and scratches on that smoke box door as well, which adds to the effect of it being a little bit worn out and a little bit weathered, which, as I said, no steam engine, it's completely clean, so this is a very nice touch. We've got obviously the 3D numbers there, all looking smart. Although what I will say is that the numbers in this lighting anyway do look a bit bright and could have been, sort of toned down slightly. But it might look a bit better in certain different, different shades of lighting. This is just your bog standard default Somerset and Dorset lighting, so it's probably not the best. We also have the builder's plates down here as well. We've got the Midland Railway Company Rebuild Derby 1914. I believe these are customizable to your needs. So if you want, obviously, depending on the number and depending on what classmate that you've chosen to drive, that changes. And it all changes depending on the class member that you have chosen. I will have a brief look at the manual at some point after we've had a look through, obviously, the livery variations and obviously my overall thoughts on the model. We also have the cylinder drain cocks down here as well, which are very, very nicely modelled indeed. I think it's incredibly smart there. Very nicely done, and props to 4th Games on that. We have the cylinders here as well, with all of the rivets in the appropriate places, and we also have the difference in texture there as well, where you can see sort of the cladding on the side of the cylinder, which looks a lot more freshly painted, and then obviously as you head down to the side, you can see sort of the I suppose the actual cylinder, the base itself, which is obviously a slightly different texture to the painted cladding, which is a very, very nice touch, because obviously, it's not painted properly all around. Obviously, it's a slightly different texture than the side panels. And yeah, it's just touches like that which really do make a model and just a loco really sort of stand out, to opposed to the predecessors such as the Coogee model and the Caledonia Works model. We also have all the details down here on the obviously the pistons here. Which, look at this, look at that, the detail that have been put into here. They've gone into the effort to actually model the pins on the on all of the obviously the lubrication and well, just the bolts and stuff like that in general. And it's details like that which just really do make it look the part. It's the little things that really do make a product shine. And yeah, it's very smart. The wheels themselves, they're not too bad, to be honest. I think the wheels are looking very, very nicely done. We've got obviously the middle section there where you can sort of see the crankshaft and everything like that. And if I look up a 7F on photographs, the underframe does look pretty accurate to the real life prototype. So props to them on that. They have done pretty well with modelling them wheels. We've also got bits and pieces behind the wheels as well, such as obviously various nuts and bolts behind as well, which is obviously keeping the wheels and everything else in place. We've got these obviously the brake blocks here as well, which are nicely done. I'm not sure whether these move or not. We will test that at some stage. But yeah, it's nice to see that they're present as well. And we've also got all the sanding pipes as well present underneath there as well, which is good to see. We've got all of the handrails as they should be. They're all there. We've got the whistle and the safety valves all up there and present. We've got obviously the riveting around the boiler bands, which again is a very nice touch. We've got the dome there, and with the chimney, and obviously everything else that you expect to see from a steam engine. The particle effects don't actually look that bad as well. They look pretty smart. We'll come onto that when we start driving the thing. Obviously, heading over to the tender here, the coal texturing is looking pretty smart, I must admit. Very nicely detailed, high definition visuals there. We've got obviously the cap for the tender where we put the water in. We've got extra little bits and pieces here like fire irons and stuff like that, which is very, very nicely modelled and placed on the side of the tender there, which is something you didn't usually, as far as I know, you won't usually be able to see on the previous models. We also have all of the bits and pieces down here as well, like obviously where the water trough was and the handbrakes. We've even got a shovel there as well. That's nice. Yeah, so just little bits and pieces here and there, which again, just bring it out and make it look smart. We've also got, obviously, we can see the cab here on the outside, which is looking quite nice, isn't it? Although I must admit, the texturing here, it's not the best looking textures. These sort of brass kind of yellowy bits and pieces like this, I just don't think it's the right colour really. It's sort of a bit too gold and sort of yellow. It needs to be toned down slightly, I think, personally, but that's just my opinion. Obviously other people could think differently. The crew are here as well. These are actually brand newly modelled crew. These are new models, and they're not animated, which is a bit of a shame, but nonetheless it's nice to have new crew models rather than the default ones that we've had for a number of years, since 2007. Although, to be fair, these character models do look a bit cartoony. They look like they're from like an animated series. It would be nice to see them being a little bit more detailed, but again, my opinion, others may think differently. So yeah, so they are the sort of, that's sort of the basic overview of the model itself, and obviously looking at the black liveries that come with the pack. So now what we're going to do is move over to the LMS black liveries over here. So on this one we have the unshaded and shaded version. I'm not really sure on what it means by that, but there's two different versions of LMS. But from what I can see, they've got two different numbering schemes, one of them being earlier than the other. So this one is obviously 9670, which is a Midland Railway Company rebuild Derby 1914. And basically this livery is basically just unlined black, isn't it? But just with LMS branding on it. So you've got the 7F marking up the top there, which looks very smart. 9670. And we've got LMS on the tender there in the sort of a 3D style lettering that the LMS had. And yeah, it is, looking okay. Not my favourite livery on the 7F, but it's got to be done because it's one of the important liveries to have on the loco. The next one we have here is the different numbered version of the LMS, which is 13801. I believe this is the unshaded version, and I'm starting to see why it's called that, because obviously the numbering is slightly different, and so is the lettering. They don't have that sort of 3D background, sort of that 3D backdrop like the other ones had. So I can see the difference there already. The builder's plates are the same on that one as well. But another thing you'll notice as well is that there's actually two different types of tender that come with this pack. So you've got just your standard 7F tender, open tender as you would usually get on most variants, and you also get this cabbed version here as well, which is very unusual. It's not one I'm familiar with, but however, it's great nonetheless to have yet another variant of tender that you can use in game. So I'm guessing that this would have been a little bit nicer for the crew, especially on cold, rainy days, because obviously you're a lot more shaded from the rain, which is great. And yeah, it's very cool. It's very interesting and unusual. I like it. So yeah, you get two different types of tender with this pack as well. I've also noticed that I have actually played one of the liveries are missing, and that is the BR Green version of 7F. I will put that down at some point. Actually, just have a look at. I have just realised that. I do apologise for that, guys. But we do actually have two fictional liveries. Well, that come with this pack. I think that one is 3 in total because you've got the lined black version as well. But so we've got this here, which is the Midland Railway red version, which do you know what I actually really like. It suits it. I can, this is something that I know that the developers on this pack really wanted to create. It was something, fictitious, but it works very well, and it looks incredibly smart. To be honest, you've got all this like lining on there, and do you know what? I really like that streaking on the running plate there. That is very nicely done. That looks really smart. Yeah, so well done. Um, yeah, I really like that. I really like this livery, actually. Very nice. Down to obviously all the lining on the, obviously the frames on the tenders as well, which just looks really smart. We've also got the Midland crest there. That is very nicely done. Look how high definition that is. That's cool. Yeah, and this is obviously number 81. So this is obviously in the SDJR numbering scheme as well. Just to have the, just to be different. But yeah, I like it. It's a very good fictional livery, and I think that will be one that will be quite popular in the means of fictitious train simulator universes. Right, heading further over here. Oh, because there's a standard 5 there. I forgot to delete it. Oh, whoops. Oh well, we'll just leave that there. That should have been where the BR green one is probably. But yeah, so we head over to the Somerset and Dorset liveries. So we've got this is a large boiler version again, but obviously you get this livery in both the large boiler and standard boiler version as well. That's another thing I should mention. So all liveries that you get with the pack, you can get on both the standard boiler versions and large boiler versions as well. So this is the Somerset and Dorset Joint Railway black livery with the sort of blue sort of background behind the writing to give that sort of 3D effect. Again, it's not a livery that I particularly like, but it's just obviously your bog standard black with just different branding on it. Yeah, it looks alright on the buffer beam. But yeah, it is what it is. It's just black basically. So moving over, this is probably my favourite livery on the 7F, which is the Somerset and Dorset Railway Prussian Blue, I believe they call it. And yeah, this is my favourite livery for the 7F because it just looks incredibly smart, doesn't it? That sort of navy blue. This is how I saw number 88 at the West Somerset Railway. So it's the only 7F I've been behind, and it was in this livery. So it's got a soft spot for me, really, this livery, and I think it's just really smart. So this is number 85. I believe this was never carried by the 7Fs back in the day, as far as I know. I believe it was only one that was carried it in preservation, which is number 88. So I could be wrong on that. Obviously, I'm not clued up with my research on 7Fs in general, so I could be wrong, but I think, as far as I know, this livery was only ever in preservation era and not in working days. But yeah, nonetheless, it is very smart. It's got all the nice lining on it, and yeah, it is looking very nice. Definitely my favourite livery in the pack, and just for the 7F overall. And then we head over to this. Now this is an interesting one, Photographic Grey. Again, I'm not sure whether this is one that was carried by the 7Fs. But nevertheless, it's nice to have it with the pack. And once again, we have that nice sort of streaking texture on the obviously running plate, and it's also down at the front there as well. I've also noticed we've got some streaking on the actual running plate itself, with the, where it looks like the ash has been taken out of the smoke box, and they haven't completely where they've sort of brushed it off, and you can see where they've brushed it off, which again is a nice feature. So yeah, overall modelling not too bad, looking pretty nice. One thing I will say about it, and we will obviously show it off when we're moving, is there is no inside motion on this locomotive, which is a shame. We don't get any inside motion at all, which I think is a bit of a shame, considering that it would have been nice to have that in there, but unfortunately that hasn't been modelled, which is a shame. But nonetheless, a very nice looking model, And I think overall, 4th's Games have done an absolutely fantastic job on recreating the 7F in Train Simulator and updating it to a more modern standards. So, from looking at the freight wagons and the 7Fs, we also get something else with this pack. So, bear in mind this is all for 17 quid, guys. You know, you get all of this stuff, and I think that is fairly priced for what you're getting, really. I was expecting this pack to be around sort of 25 to 30 pounds. I think 17 pounds is pretty well priced for this. So fair play. So we get these coaching stock with it as well, which I believe were done by Forerunner. So these are the Forerunner Mark 1 coaches. Now these I'm in an R-ing with. If I'm going to be brutally honest with you, they're not necessarily my favourites. I just not majorly keen on them personally, but as I say again, it's my opinion. Others may really love them, but to me, they just don't really do it for me. But nonetheless, it's nice to have them within the pack, and it's nice to have some new rolling stock added with the pack itself. So they come with 4 livery variations. We've got blood and custard, chocolate and cream, BR blue and grey, and maroon over here as well. Interestingly, oh yeah, we do have that as well. Yeah, so you can see, yeah, see stuff like this. The British Railways logo doesn't look great on those, but you know they're not too bad for what they are, I suppose. So if we go inside as well, you know, you can see like details like this. You know, we've got the Nelson box tank. You've got like various different pieces of artwork within inside the coaches themselves. Obviously, we've got a unit in that one. So if you have a look, you've got like little Easter eggs of bits and pieces inside the coaches, which I think is quite cool. So depending on which coach you've got, you can see different pieces of rolling stock. I like it. That's a nice feature. But yeah, so details like that are very smart on them, but they're not necessarily my favourite coaches personally, and they're not something that I'd use regularly. Over here we have one of the preserved versions of 7F that you get with this pack, and that is 53808, also known as number 88, in its present preservation scheme in just the standard BR Unlined Black livery, which does look pretty smart, doesn't it? So, what we'll do now, I think, is we'll go through the manual, and then we'll have a look at, obviously, the preservation versions of the 7Fs that you get with the pack, and the missing BR Green version, which I didn't place down. And yeah, so I'll see you in a minute, guys. Over to the manual we go. Okay, guys, so here we have the manual, which is, obviously, as you can see here, 4th's Games presents the SDJR 280 7F pack. So this manual is very in-depth. There's about 25 pages in total, and it tells you all you need to know about this add-on for Train Simulator. So we also have a contents as well, where it's showing us all the information about what's what, history, bringing the 7F to Train Simulator, locos included, the second fleet, etc. So if we head down to the first page, we can see an introduction here. I'll give you a sort of a brief read of the introduction for you. So here we have what it says here is, hello everyone, I must give a hearty thanks to all of you who have taken the time to support me by purchasing my SDJR 7F DLC, and additionally to those of you who have taken the time to read through this manual. Yes, I'm also addressing you, fellow skim readers. Yeah, you do get those. It's quite funny how he's mentioned that. As many of you are aware, this project has been in development since early 2022 and has been a I'm going to say humongous undertaking. I can't read that word. I do apologise, guys. Through which I have refined and evolved everything I know and have since learned in order to present what I hope is a product you will all enjoy for many hours and for years to come. There have been many roadblocks, stumbles and painstaking setbacks as we have tried to carve a path forward, building on a solid foundation of new innovations in gameplay mechanics, in addition to refining the sound work I had devised previously. Interesting indeed. Since the initial reveal in November 2022, we have seen continuously growing support on our social media pages, which has never ceased to amaze me. The Train Sim Classic community has been so enthusiastic and welcoming to new developers entering the scene. Even now, after having been involved with many collaborations and product releases, I truly appreciate every single like, comment, share, direct message, and of course, every purchase made to support this crazy little dream of mine. Ah, that's nice. It's a nice little, you know, message there to the community, and obviously, it's just great to see that people have been supporting fourths. So this is basically the history about you know bits and pieces. I'm not going to read through all this, so if you want to read this, please do pause the video and have a little bit of a read. And yeah, I'll let you guys do that. But yeah, so you can see the history here with obviously about the 7Fs and other bits and pieces. And yeah, as I say, if you want to pause this and read through it, you can. So the next page, history continued. My God. So yeah, he's certainly done his research on this. You can see this once again. Obviously, want to read it, pause it, because I'm not going to read through all this. Yeah. So he says as well, I do encourage the enthusiasm within you to research the locos further, find out all the nitty-gritty details and facts. It's a fascinating read, and ultimately you might end up in the same position I did many, many years ago, loving two preserved examples and wanting to bring them to life, driving them in Train Sim Classic and enjoying a rich bubble of history. So we can tell here that he's really into his 7Fs, and that's really, really nice. So it's something that he's been passionate about to create, which is again, it's nice to see, because I think if you're putting love and care into something that you're passionate about, it's always going to go far in the means of what you hope to achieve with it. So that's great to see. Bringing the 7Fs to Train Simulator. So this is obviously telling you the story about bringing the 7Fs to Train Simulator. And obviously the collaboration with Forerunner, who are the developer responsible for the Mark 1 coaches. Again, if you want to read this, guys, pause the video. Obviously, I'm not going to spend a long time reading through all of this, so, because otherwise we'll be here for a fair amount of time when it's not really needed in this review. Good God. Oh, good God. Oh, this lot. Yeah, we've got plenty of these. So, right, let's have a look. So we've got, obviously, it's saying here about walking around. This is something that we're going to look into in game, which is obviously the walk around camera, which is something that is revolutionary. This is something we've never seen in Train Simulator before, and I can't wait to have a little look at around it. Numbers galore, obviously telling us the customization options of the numbers, and dynamic particles as well. Particle system in the simulation side. You can tell he's really put work into this. He's really explored and thought about what he could bring to the table, something new to the table for everyone to enjoy, and that's an interesting one. So thinking about something new, something that nobody has done before, and I think that is great. I think that's brilliant. So now we have a list of the locomotives included. Obviously, this is the preservation versions, obviously the preservation locos. So we've got 53808 in 2016 condition, obviously what it is in now as well, which is just unlined black. 53808 as number 88, so that's when it was in Prussian blue as number 88, which was what I saw 88 in back in 2010, 2011. We also have 53809 2016 condition, which again is 5309's current condition. The second fleet, yeah, cool. You could read this for hours. Just finding out the information about all of the different variants of tender and variations of locos. There really, really is some in-depthness going on here. We've also got all of the mentions of the customization options. So you know, this is all the stuff that you can change within the scenario editor. So n equals, you know, for the number basically. Air brakes, so you can fit with air brakes, which is AB. So if you've got AB equals F, means fitted. AB equals NF is not fitted. So that's really cool how you can fit them with air brakes. So say if you really wanted them, you know, if you wanted to do like mainline running with them, you can fit them with air brakes if you really wanted to. Running board details, you've got RBD, you've got, you know, equals Y is visible, equals N is not visible. Safety valves, you know, we've got all the different styles of safety valves. Ramsbottom valves, Ross Pop valves, builders plates as well. You've got obviously the Midland Railway Derby or Robin Stevenson's and Company. It really is packed full of different customization options. As I say, I can't go through all of these, otherwise we'll be here forever. But it just shows the amount of, you know, effort that they've gone to make this, and it is impressive. It really is impressive. So obviously locomotives included second fleet. We've got SDJR liveries, LMS liveries, BR black, and yeah, this is the BR green one, which I haven't put down, which is something I'm gonna do. So we will do that once we look at it in game again. Forerunners, Mark 1s. So obviously this tells us about the Mark 1s that are included and their different customization options. So you can even customize these as well. Look, you've got crests and bogey types, set numbers. There really is all sorts that you can do with this. You know, there's plenty of hours of fun that you can use, you know, you can have with these. Obviously you've got the freight stock here. I believe the freight stock were also created by Forerunner, but we'll have a look when we get to the credits. They've also obviously mapped out all the controls to us, so they can, you know, obviously tell us. Obviously, we've got all of the different controls. We've got obviously the spacebar, whistle toots on V, blower, large ejector, all of that stuff. Lamp irons and headboards. Headboards on control shift +9. Lamp irons control shift 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. You've got obviously controls for the walk around mode as well, which I'm looking forward to having a go at. Sounds. The sounds are actually really quite good on this. Obviously, this isn't a first look. I've had a brief brief listen to them. So yeah, we'll get to that actually in game, and we'll go through all of them. But what is pretty impressive about this sound set is there is 130 randomized different exhaust beats, which is something we've never seen before, again, within a sound set on a Steam Loco in TS. So that is once again something else that is just brilliant to see, and brilliant to see someone bringing it into game. We also have 500 audio files in total, so there's 500 audio files for this locomotive. It is pretty insane. There is some serious things been put into this. It's a serious bit of kit. So yeah, let's have a look, see what our credits are. So Victory Works and Precision Locomotive Developments. So they weren't directly involved with the DLC, but they're always available to DM for advice. So, you know, they did advise 4th's games with the creation of this, which is brilliant. Patient Crew, we've got Yaron, Elias, Forerunner, John Astley. Yeah, they've done a good job on that. Also, I'm guessing they're testers, most of it. We've got Will Stratford, Somerset and Dorset Trust, Forerunner, which I believe did the Mark 1s. So if Forerunner did the Mark 1s, and who did the wagons? going to hazard a guess. Perhaps Elias did the wagons. I know Elias Dobner's recently created some wagons for TS. It could be that. It doesn't actually say in the credits who did the wagons. There's something that they do need to perhaps rectify to obviously tell us who did the wagons. But yeah, testing team. So there we go, that's the manual. So it's very in-depth and it tells you what you need to know to get the very best out of your 7Fs. Obviously, once again, guys, if there is anything that you want to have a look at, then just pause the video. But I think, obviously, if I read through all of this, we'll be here forever. So I think without further ado, we shall load up the game, give one of these a drive, and I'll share my overall thoughts on it. So, actually, no, but before that, I need to show off the green version and the preserved versions. So, yeah, we'll do that. Here we are. Look at this. It's green. Would you believe it? Yeah, so this is the BR green version that you get with the pack, sort of a fictitious green. But you can see in this lighting, actually, it's a lot better now. You can actually really see the detail on the front there. Yep. Certainly looks a lot better in this lighting. But yeah, so this is obviously your fictitious BR green livery, which... you either love it or you hate it, but to be fair, doesn't look too bad. I could get used to it. Not too bad at all. And then over here we have two preserved versions, the current versions of 53808 and 53809. 53808, I said, yeah. 53808 and 53809. Here they are in their unlined black preservation liveries. Something I do like about this, though, is obviously you've got the two difference in, you know, in the livery. So you've got a slightly more matte black on the obviously there's a smoke box itself, and then obviously the more black livery on the cladding, which, you know, gives that effect that there's two different textures, which again, you know, it's just nice to see. But yeah, you can see the amount of detail that's been put in here. I'm not entirely sure about this texturing here around the obviously around the nuts, you know, just that sort of brown colour. I'm not really too sure. It just looks a bit too much like wood to me, to be honest. It doesn't look like metal at all. It just looks like a wood texture that's been just stuck on there. Yeah, not my favourite, but they are. But yeah, so other than that, you have to say texturing, not too. Yeah, see, this is what I meant by the buffers. But you know, at the end of the day, the model is superb, and, you know, yes, the texturing could use some improvement, but I'm sure that this is all something that 4th's games can take on board for perhaps some future updates to obviously perhaps further improve the texturing and just add other bits and pieces to the pack as he goes on. Because I know that he said something about releasing a few updates because it's not going to be perfect from day one, and there will be updates over time on these locos. So I'll be really interested to see how these progress over the years to come. Anyhow, now that we've actually had a look at all the variations, let's take one for a spin, shall we? Because we've been sat here for a little while talking about general bits and pieces of the 7F. I'm not going to keep you any longer. Let's have a little drive of one and then show my thoughts and opinions on how the thing drives and how it acts in the means of its simulation. So the question is, what do you think is the variant that I've chosen to drive today? I'll give you a couple of seconds to think. I'm guessing you've probably got it. Let's head over to it. And if you guessed right, then it is indeed number 88 in SDJR Prussian Blue. It's definitely one that I wanted to get my hands on. So, let's have a little look inside the cab, shall we? Here we are. Oh, we've already got the fireman doing his thing. I swear I saw an animated shovel just a second ago, but it's decided to disappear. Interesting. Okay, so first things first, obviously, as we're in here, I think we need to have a look at that fabulous walk-around camera. So let's have a little look round, shall we? So Shift D. Oh wow, look at this. This is very, very cool. So this is something that I've never seen before personally in Train Simulator. This is revolutionary. And the 7F has been pretty known for being that loco to have milestones, because I believe not only was the 7Fs one of the first steam locomotives to ever even be in Railworks or Rail Simulator in general, it was one of the first steam engines to have the steam chest simulation from Steam Sound Supreme, and now it is, well, one of the first engines to have the walk around camera. So I think the 7F, and we can safely say that the 7F has quite a big role within the history of train simulation. So if I remember correctly, I believe it's Shift E, that's it, to lean out the side. Oh, that's so cool, look at that. That is wicked. Yeah, so we can lean out of the side of the train. Trouble is, I don't actually know how to go back. Oh, it's Shift Q, there we go. Oops. Yeah, this is definitely going to take some getting used to. Yes, we've got Shift E and Shift Q, which does sort of sideway cameras. The only thing that doesn't work is the key to go back to default on the walk around camera. Like there is a key if we look in the manual. Yeah, I'm referring over to the manual again. Not starting to move, are we? Oh, my regulator's because I moved the reg. Oh, for God's sake, well, that's just annoying, isn't it? There we are. Open the cylinder drains. Oh, where is the section on it? God, so much in this manual. Let me just get my bearings and try and find the key controls. There we are. Okay, so yeah, so lean rest is Control Shift W. Control Shift W. Yeah, so it doesn't go back to the default view. Okay, yeah, so it doesn't necessarily work 100%, but you know, either way, it's very, very cool how we can do all this. It's definitely going to take some getting used to though, because the Shift 2 camera now doesn't exist. So yeah, you're kind of going to have to, you know, use the walk around to do your stuff. But yeah, anyway, so we've got the cylinder cocks open now. We'll open and we'll have a look at some of the features like the lamps and stuff. So if we press Control 1, or was it Shift 1? Shift 1 there. Yeah, we've got discs, and Control 1 does the lamps. The lamps, in my opinion, look a bit too small. I think they are, yeah, definitely looking a little bit too small. They could use being enlarged. But I must admit, I do love the discs. The discs do look very smart. There they are, they're lit now. And I believe it's at Control 9 that does the headboards. Was it Shift 9? There we go. So we've got 53808, 30 glorious years. Cumbrian Mountain Pullman. I'm not really liking the texturing on these headboards, to be honest with you. Pines Express, SDJR memories. Yeah, these headboard texture-wise, they could be better. They could be better, but it's nice to have them regardless. I might have that one on actually. 53808, 30 glorious years. I like that. We'll keep that on there. Yeah, we've got the coaches here as well. Do they have a passenger view? Yep, they do. On the 5 camera, which is a window hang view. Yes, texturing on these are just could be better. Still, it's nice to have the window hang cameras on these. Do we have a tail light on them? Oh, yes, we do. We open the doors. Yep, there we go. got our reverser lock there. Going to full forward. Now, something interesting about this reverser lock, okay, so this is something I've noticed. There's no rocking of the reverser. So say if you leave the reverser unlocked, it doesn't like have the simulation where it moves and goes further downwards. It just doesn't matter whether you have it locked or unlocked on this loco, which is a bit of a disappointment. Obviously I've got automatic fireman on this, just because, you know, I can focus on the driving aspect of it. I believe the doors are shut. We're in full forward. One thing that's interesting about this loco as well, though, is the brakes are backwards, so a bit like the Mesh Tools Super D in that regard. They are in reverse, because obviously in real life, you know, which way the brake lever is going is basically the way that you're pressing the keyboard. So the brake lever is technically in reverse. Obviously J does our large ejector, so we can get the brakes all sorted. You can open and close the windows, which is pretty cool. I'll just unlock it. It's pretty cool how you can do that. It's quite a hot day, so we want to, you know, get some air into the cab. And another thing I really like about this as well is the dynamic whistle. So depending on how hard you pull the whistle, it has a different tone. So we'll have a listen to that. That is very, very nicely done. And as well, unlike the SSS enhancement pack, which used to have that feature, you don't get a weird like sound when you press the space bar on it. See? So you can't notice it doesn't make that weird noise where it goes, you know, like it did on the original enhancement. So actually it's quite, you know, it's clean cut. So that's one thing I do like about it. And we also have the short whistles on the V key. Like so. So sounds are actually generally very, very good, especially on the whistles there. So one thing I want to show off, which I think is there is a slight bug with the simulation on this, which I noticed. So as you know, we have the cylinder drains open right now, so I'm just going to close them for a sec, and then we're going to open the reg. We're just going to crack the reg, okay? So as you can see, we start moving straight away as we crack the reg. You know, it shows our percentage there, 8%, okay? So we'll shut it again now. And stop, okay? Let's put the cylinder drains on now. Let's try and crack the reg again and see what happens. We've got nothing. We've got no response at all and no steam coming out the cylinders. Give it a bit more. Still nothing. Let's put the regulator to half power. As you can see, it finally starts to kick in, which is very interesting because as far as I know, it shouldn't do that. So to me, that's basically like how it's acting there with the cylinder drains open and how it's not getting any power until half power on the reg, or you know, you have to put the reg to half. That to me feels like it's acting as if the cylinder drains were closed. Because obviously if the cylinder drains are open, you know, you're pretty much going to get power almost instantly in the crack position. But with the cylinder drains closed, if you've got water in the cylinders, obviously it's going to struggle to pick up power a little bit more. Which, as I say, I think the simulation is backwards on that. And there definitely is something wrong there, and it should not be doing that. So that was something that I noticed that could be rectified in the means of bugs. But no matter, what we'll do is we'll give it a drive as it is, and we'll see where we get from there. So it ain't perfect by any means, but the particles are looking incredible. They are very, very nice. So, for those of you who are wondering about the route, this is the West Somerset Railway Members Edition. It's an old Steam Sound Supreme route which has now been discontinued on their website, but you can still obtain it as it is actually available over at the British Locomotive Studios website, which I'll link in the description of the video if you're interested in grabbing hold of it. Same with this pack that we're viewing today. I'll link it in the description if you'd like to go and buy it. Right, it's heading back to the loco. We'll give it a bit more power as we pass over the crossing and reach the 25 miles per hour mark. Yeah, I do really like that whistle. That is very, very nice. It does feel quite nice to drive from the cab, to be fair, with the mouse. Yeah, I could really get used to this walk around camera. It's very, very nice. Let's give it some full reg. Yeah! Yes! Okay, that is a very, very nice sound set. I don't know why the animated shovel isn't working now. I'm going to guess... Oh, there you go. Oh, it's because of auto fireman on, isn't it? That's why. Oh, that's so cool. I love the whistle. The whistle is really, really good on this. Yeah, I like that. But the run sounds are definitely something to be desired. There's no track rumble, or there is, ever so slightly, but it's far too quiet. Yeah, there needs to be more track rumble on that. Same with these. There's just no rumble. All it is just clatter. To be fair, the clatter sounds themselves, the rail joints, are actually not too bad, but it's the lack of track rumble that really lets it down. Yeah, definitely needs to be some louder rumble on there. As far as modelling goes on the 4Runner coaches, as I say, I'm not like massive on it, but the sounds are not too bad in the means of rail joints, but everything else, you know, it needs that track rumble. You need that track rumble on them. It's very empty, very dull. I must admit, I am really liking how this drives though. Simulation is definitely there. The braking is very, very nice. 5 mile an hour over that crossing. Oh. Yeah, I could definitely get used to this walk around camera. It is a bit weird at first, but you can get the hang of it quite quickly. Oh, she does look smart, don't she? Look at that. Yeah, the headboard is just, yeah, nah, that texturing needs doing, you know, sorting out. But I'm going to be brutally honest with you. Although there are some cons with this, and as I say, there, you know, there is definitely some room for improvement on this. I think it's absolutely fantastic. I really do. I just think I could get used to driving this. I could enjoy driving this for a good few hours. It is very enjoyable. So yeah, cracking. And that walk around feature, I've never seen it before in Train Simulator. It is just brilliant. I've never seen that before in history. It's just so cool. And the whistle as well. The editing on the whistle, the sounds are very good actually. And yeah, it's obviously, apart from that, you know, general rail rumble sound which is missing, everything else on it, yeah, well done. We'll get ourselves down to Blue Anchor then. I believe we've got the road, so. Yeah, if I shut the cylinder cocks, it all of a sudden takes off. That's really weird. Yeah, there's something not quite right with the means of simulation with the cylinder cocks. That's one thing I will say about it, but everything else is spot on. This whistle is fantastic. Brilliant. I'm actually really looking forward to seeing what 4th's Games can come out with next. To see what other steam engines he has planned for in the future. Should be going 5, but I can't be bothered. We're here to have a feel of the locomotive. Wind the reverser back slightly. Chuffs are quite light there. Let's have a listen when we rack it open with reg, you know, just go wham. It's not like really, really sharp when you go straight up with the reg. But I don't think 7Fs really are, really. They're quite soft. You can see the animated, you see the regulator, it's all animated stuff from the outside of the cab. Well, that's one thing I didn't test, was the brake blocks, to see if they moved when we release and apply the brakes. Let's have a look. They move. I can see, look, you can see if you look at the wheel closest to the cab, check out the brake blocks, you'll see we can see light through that. Obviously if we apply a brake, the light goes, so the brake blocks move. That's very, very nice. Good, good. So we have all of that stuff moving, but why do we not have inside motion? Yeah, that confuses me. Yeah, also I don't know if it's not doing it on this one, but there's certain locos within this pack that do have a slight shader issue. I can't remember which one it is, but the shadow of the tender disappears. I think it might be 53809 reservation condition. Only reason I know this is because one of our other BLS staff members had bought this pack and they were having issues with the shaders, so that's definitely something to look into as well. Love that whistle. I know I keep saying that, but oh look, you can move the gauge glasses as well. Yep, I like that. Anything else you can do in here? Oh, yes. Ah, yes, we can open up the bunker. There it is. That's probably the light for the cab. I guess you can use this, maybe. That signal will clear its approach control. Oh, if it doesn't matter. It's only us on this route anyway. Ah, see, that's putting a brake on if you don't have that open. I love how quick you can do the little toots. Yeah, very cool. Yeah, do you know what? I've got to say, overall, I am really, really impressed with this. Fair play. Fair play. I think there's definitely some room for improvement on this, as I said earlier. But despite the things that I did point out, which I think are a little bit hit and miss or a little bit meh, like texturing and other bits and pieces, this loco and its DLC in general is packed full of features. There's so many customization options. You can basically make any 7F that you wish. You get free, free Mark One coaches with it, free wagons. On top of the various 7Fs that you get with this pack. Yeah, there is no standard scenarios. There's no scenarios that come with this, which would have been nice to have some of them. But from as far as I know, I believe 4th's Games did say that they plan to add scenarios perhaps in the future to this pack. But in the means of features, it is definitely up there. It's really, really nice. Obviously, the whistle is brilliant. Some of the sound sets absolutely fantastic. It's done really, really well on the sounds. Obviously, the only downside is obviously the lack of track rumble. But obviously, despite that, the sounds are absolutely perfect. And yeah, it drives nicely as well. And I feel that it will be an enjoyable thing to use. There's been a few add-ons where I've liked, but I haven't necessarily enjoyed using them continuously. And this is an add-on that I feel that I would enjoy continuously driving because it does drive very nicely. There's just a few little niggles and bits and pieces here and there I think that could be altered, like for example the regulator issue that I showed you, and obviously the fact that the reverser, if you have it unlocked, it won't wind down or change percentages, which obviously, if you left it unlocked in real life, it would, move about a little bit. So, things like that could be added. Particles looking gorgeous, really, really nice particle effects. And yeah, just overall, I recommend it. It is a good pack, and for £17, it's definitely worth the money. So I hope you guys have enjoyed watching this, and it's given you an idea of what I think to the 7F, and obviously my personal opinion on both the good points and the bad points of it. And yeah, let us know in the comments what you think to the new 4th's Games pack. I definitely think they've put a lot of effort into this, and it shows. And they've definitely come back to this community with a bang, because they did go. Unfortunately, they did have a little bit of a moment where they really struggled, and they retired for a little bit from the community, but they've definitely come back and are showing what it's all about. So fair play to you guys. Well done, 4th's Games, and yeah, brilliant. Keep up the good work. I look forward to seeing what you bring to the train simulator community in the future. And well done. Seriously, well done. Fantastic. Thank you guys for watching. This has been Sammy Beam on a BLS. I'll see you in another video. Goodbye for now.